A little while ago, B&M and SeaWorld announced the Pipeline Coaster, the brand new, one-of-a-kind surf coaster coming to SeaWorld Orlando, and pretty much everyone was hyped. This looked like the exact fix we needed to the stand-up coaster. The seats bounced and the layouts were adjusted so that they weren't the most demonic layouts known to man. But there's always been one question in the back of my mind while looking at this ride, always one itch that's never been answered and desperately needs scratching. Who is this really for? Seriously, after SeaWorld Orlando, who is going to build another surf coaster? Is it going to become a smash hit out of nowhere, or will this be B&M's first flop? Well, I don't think it'll be a flop, but I don't think it'll be very successful either, at least not the regular B&M standard. Let me explain. The thing is, stand-up coasters is a very niche model. It's a novel concept to stand up on a ride, but it's also a concept that a lot of people are okay without. The old stand-ups put such a bad taste in my mouth and a lot of people's mouth that I really don't know that any modification could save it. Like seriously, why would you want to stand up on a roller coaster? Whose idea was that? These are one and dones for pretty much everyone. Like, you're never really gonna see people marathoning Riddler's Revenge when Wonder Woman is literally right there. That really just means that these are filler lines, which is the #1 downfall of this model. It's a B&M filler ride, and B&Ms are too damn expensive to just be filler rides. Maintaining old B&Ms as filler rides is fine, but building a brand new one ground up and having it fall to the sidelines like immediately is a waste of $20 million. Just imagine what you could spend that money on. You could buy like 6 RMC Raptors for that, or just build 2 hyper hybrids, or like a crazy Intamin Blitz, or even just another B&M like a dive or a wing. These are guaranteed smash hits, and instead you're spending your money on this new technology that isn't even going to be super popular after like opening year. That's the #1 reason I don't think it's going to work. It's just not worth the B&M premium. Now, I have heard people say that the parks might use the trains for current day stand-up coasters, kind of like the floorless conversions, except staying a stand-up coaster. And to that I ask, what would parks really gain out of that? Like, yeah, they could make the ride better, but do they really care about it getting better? Because like at the end of the day, they can't really market it as a new ride like with the floorless coaster, because like it's still a stand-up. It's going from a stand-up to a stand-up. And we don't even know if these trains could fit the old B&M track. B&M has different size track for different rides. Like, look at how thick this dive coaster track is. In a way, a dive train is fitting on a hyper track. It's too chunky. Considering the train looks a lot more complicated than your average B&M train with this whole ride adjustable bouncy stand-up seat thing, it's very possible that these require thicker tracks, which means you can't just tack these trains onto any old B&M. The last reason is because of the nature of the model. I talked about this before with how stand-up coasters are a very niche market, but specifically what they're doing here. This is a lot tamer than the stand-ups of the past, which, like I said, was a good thing for the rider, but what park wants to buy a stand-up family coaster? Like, it's not a family coaster, but it's not one of B&M's more intense models. This is probably their most family-friendly model besides their actual family model that's like exclusive to China or something. A launch stand-up family-esque coaster really just doesn't sound like it fits a lot of parks lineups. It works perfectly for SeaWorld Orlando just because they needed like exactly that. Like, they needed a less intense ride that wasn't a full-on family coaster, but also like isn't like huge. I think that's what Icebreaker was supposed to be, but that was a little more intense than they were expecting, so now they're trying again. So yeah, in this one instance, I think it works really well for the park, but for like every single other situation, this model doesn't make sense at all. However, I did say I don't think it'll be a complete flop. I still think there will be like 2 other parks that buy these. I think all the SeaWorld parks are gonna get one of these. SeaWorld San Antonio will follow, and then SeaWorld San Diego will round it out. Both these parks need more supporting coasters that aren't super tense, but also not family coasters, so this fits that bill. Actually, all 3 of the SeaWorld parks are kind of in a similar situation. They have some good to amazing rides at the top, but there's really just not that much depth in the lineup. Surf coasters are a new and unique experience to fill in all of these lineups. I think San Antonio gets one next just because it's been longer since they'll have gotten a coaster, and then San Diego will follow after they've gotten all the kinks out so they can work around that height limit. As for other parks that might get this, it's looking grim. I'm not gonna lie, it's looking grim. I really just don't know who would want one of these. Six Flags is simply too broke. Like, they're out of the question. Dollywood and Silver Dollar City, I guess technically could get one of these, but both of their lineups need a lot more work before diving into something as niche as this, especially Silver Dollar Cities. Cedar Fair is really the only major US chain I could see getting one of these, but like, for them, who would get one? Carowinds already has a god-awful stand-up coaster. CJ is closing. Knott's doesn't have space. Canada's Wonderland already has so much mid. Kings Dominion is getting a B&M wing coaster next, and we all know that Dorney, Valley Fair, and Michigan's Adventure are not seeing a new ride for the next like decade after whatever Dorney is getting here. The only 2 parks that could build one are Cedar Point and Kings Island. I think Cedar Point is a definite no. They just don't have the space to be building these kind of filler rides, especially since they had a stand-up coaster a while ago and then just converted it to a floorless. That would just be a little weird if they built another one like 10 years later. Now, hypothetically, Kings Island anyone could get one because they don't have a stand-up coaster and they just lost a looper with Vortex, and they only have 3 B&Ms, which for like a park this size is 1 short of the average. But like, really think to yourself, what gap does this fill? Do they need a launch stand-up coaster? Is that really what the people are asking for? Nobody wants that. We want a mock multi-launch or an RMC or something actually good, not this clunky crap. I don't know, to me this model seems too niche and too expensive and too clunky for its own good, and that's why I really could not tell you why this exists and why I think it'll be B&M's first, maybe, flop. But that's just what I think. I want to know what you guys think in the comments down below. Tell me if you agree. Thank you so much for watching. I know it was a shorter video, but the top 25 is taking a little longer than I thought, so that'll be the next one. I will see you then.